I see love go by my door. It's never been this close before. It's never been so easy or so slow. I've been shooting in the dark too long. When something's not right, it's wrong. You're gonna make the so when you go. Dragon clouds so high above. I've only been careless love. It always has hit me from below. This time round it's more correct, right on target, so direct that you won't make love so low. Purple clover, queen and scripts, hair, apostrophe face. You could make me cry if you don't know. Can't remember what I was thinking of. Might be spoiling too much love, but you're gonna make me up so low. I was on the inside going crazy. Figured talking back and forth and ride. Blue river runs so lazy. I can stay with you forever. Never realize the time. Situations have ended, sad relationships have all been bad. Might have been like Burley's or Rainbow. There's no way I can compare all this fair. You're gonna make love so you're gonna make me wonder what I'm doing. Stand by how you. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm saying. You're gonna make me give myself a good talking to. I look for you in Honolulu, San Francisco, has to be. You're gonna make me leave me, I don't know. I'll see you in the sky above. Past the ones I love, but you're gonna make me lonesome. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm doing. Staying far behind you. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm saying. You're gonna make me get myself a good talking to. I'll look for you in Honolulu, San Francisco, I swear. You're gonna have to leave me now, I know. I'll see you in the sky above in the tall grass and the ones I love. But you're gonna make me lonesome, I said. You're gonna make me lonesome, I said. You're gonna make me lonesome. Flowers on the hillside blooming crazy. Crickets talking back and forth and rhyme. Blue around, slow and lazy. I could stay with you forever. Never realize the time I'm so looking for you and Honolulu, San Francisco, has to be. You're gonna leave me now, I know. But I see you in the sky above in the tall grass and the ones out over. You're gonna make me lonesome. 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 You're gonna make me lonesome.
Oh, black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like some roses fair. She has the sweetest smile. It soon would come when my love will be yours. All my years the color of my true love's hair. Lips like some roses fair. She has the sweetest smile, the generous hand, and I love the ground. She's I go down to the ground and I'm mourning, satisfied will be. I return a few short lines Guess my true love's lips are some roses. The sweetest smile, the gentlest and the ground where she the sweetest the ground, and she stood. I still she's I give the all I can, no more. My heart under all the store that I can need. A lute whose gentle song reveals the soul of love for one. And back for a heart that feels before can tell. Though love and song may fail our hearts to keep life's clouds away, at least 'twill make them lighter pass or give them if they stay. And even if care at moments brings a discord o'er life's happy strain, all in love, but gently touch these strings, 'twill always sweet again. All in love, but gently touch the strings, 'twill always sweet again. Greetings, friend, at this late hour, early hour, as the case may be. hear the birds singing outside. So in my own brain, hopefully, or I perceive they may be singing along with me anyway, or reacting to these uh, uh, natural tones, I guess. What's it, 5:12 here? So yeah, anyway, how you doing? Hope you're doing as well as usual. Just came on to sing a few songs, chat it up, and yeah, not take it too seriously anyway. So let's see what we end up talking about. A few things in mind. And get the songs out of the way to begin with. I've done so many hangouts at the minute. I'm not even sure if I opened up a hangout with first song, which is "You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome." When You Go by Bob Dylan. Pretty sure I definitely sang it a few times, but I'm not sure if I opened the hangout. Very interesting song, as all the works of Bob Dylan are. Bob Dylan, the corporation, that is. It's sort of the corporation that lasts throughout time, and you have a few different players playing the lead role. Um, uh, just fancy singing that song. That's the main reason for hang out with it. Second song was Black is the Color. Thought it was a traditional Irish song, but as usual, I'm wrong about that. It seems to be a Scottish song written by someone called Cara Dillon and Sam Lakeman. So if you haven't heard that before, Black is the Color, type it into YouTube and you'll get to hear the original. Christy Moore, sort of a folk singer here, famous folk singer. I realized I was another actor up on the stage, but promoted this song, and it was sort of big back here, maybe 80s, 90s, but definitely associated with sort of traditional old Ireland sort of setting. But once again, when you look into it, nothing at all to do with it. So just another illusion shattered. That's fine. No worries about that. All is as it must be, right? We're making our way to reality, so let's have the truth. No heroes. I did some things I stressed to my beautiful Steve. I always have Steve in mind whenever I sing or say or do anything. But you have no heroes. You know, it's not. That's how it works. It's not how it works. If you do have heroes, if you do build up personalities, personas, ideas, are bound to be disappointed. Absolutely bound to be disappointed. But who can I speak for here, right? At 5:14 in the morning on the 23rd of the 6th, 2019. So we're told whatever the fuck that means. It's just a string of numbers put together, right? That's the way it works, I'm told. At least I'm forcefully led to understand, no matter where I go these days, I'm wrong. You know, there's no thinking outside mainstream, the popular view, no matter where I go. So, well, what do you think I'm gonna? What do you think I'm gonna do for that? How do you think I'm gonna react to that? That's right. Yeah, that's right. We continue being ourselves, and will no one divert us from that path. The last song was "My Heart to Lute," the stalwart, usual here, and well, absolutely very special song. And one of these days, I swear to you, one of these days, the true significance of My Heart and Lute is going to hit me, and I already know it in, how will I put it, the peripheral significant sense. I mean, Alice in Wonderland is, so not to get into it again, but constantly I sort of keep justifying my thoughts, I guess. I'm not justifying to myself. Who am I justifying? To you? I'm justifying them to you, I guess. I guess any of the regular listeners here, I'm justifying them to. That's all I can say. That's the best I can say. Otherwise, it's, you know, but when we think in terms of the Bible, the works of Shakespeare, Alice in Wonderland, not in every link you get, but in some links, in particular links, yeah, these are the three most translated books earthwide in history. Alice in Wonderland, the books of Shakespeare, and plays of Shakespeare, and the Bible coming in at number one. So this is the sort of the category, and this is all in. Well, when we realize the true significance of Alice in Wonderland, we have to arrive at flat Earth sort of stage to begin with. But then we can appreciate all the more that throughout Alice's journeys, Alice is all of us, right? Alice is the male, female, adult or child. And when we realize it's a reflection of us, right? So this is our story. We're told that out of all of Alice's experiences throughout Wonderland, from the first book, Alice in Wonderland, to the second book, Alice Through the Looking Glass, where she meets the White Knight, that this is the most memorable encounter she's had. So the White Knight goes through a little ditty, and we're given the alternative name to it, and we're pointed to the poem "My Heart in It" from Thomas More, who was, we're told anyway, was beheaded by Henry VIII for his political and religious views. So again, all fabrication, all literary creation. What is the greater story? What is the greater message being sent us here? And I think, as usual, it's all about context, and that's why that song has so much significance. But that poem, I should say, it's a poem, as I said, by Thomas More. I put the music to it myself, which of all the songs I've written, loads and loads of songs, but that is the most natural sort of birthing of the music to the lyrics. It just came out of the blue. So whatever you think of it, that's the story behind it. But yeah, one of these days, the true significance to my heart, and let the love but gently touch the strings is very significant as well. But I know that because each word has significance, each letter which composes each word also has significance, and that's certainly down the pathway I'm well gone at this stage. So something of great significance is on the edge. It's waiting, waiting to sort of reveal itself regarding my heart and mood. So yeah, I go straight into the chat just to make sure everything's coming through okay. Speaking low a little, I'm not sure how good the sound is coming through. I'll find out shortly enough, I guess. Speaking low, just in due consideration. No fucker can hear me, like, so it's fine. Well, I find out shortly enough. Oh yeah, that's coming out. That's coming through loud and clear, actually, isn't it? Yeah, that's coming through loud and clear. I could even turn that down a small bit, actually. I'll leave it as it is. That's fine. Because I can whisper enough then under the certain knowledge that it's coming through loud enough. Mind and Manny, how you doing? As I reach into chat. Oh, my mic is low, is that? I can hear it well enough now. That's coming through, Manny. Are you winding me up, man? That's coming through amazingly clear. That's even louder than what I hope it would be like at this time in the morning at 5:20 a.m. here in Ireland. Whatever that means, as I said. We're just starting to brighten up again. All of the dew, there's a little sort of half roof next to the house next door, and every night you can see as the sun goes away, you can see the dew settling, and it goes from a very thin film, very very thin film, imagine razor-like film, to a deeper film, until eventually, if there's enough dew, it will form into sort of a circular, globular, bubbler form. When the sun comes back into view, then slowly but surely that film disappears and goes back to where it began, like non-existence. This is why the sun is the great agitator. All of these water particulates are in the air or in the atmosphere, or whatever you want to call it. And this is the excitation that occurs when the sun comes back in. You can think of it like a lightsaber or a laser beam or something. So everything is excited. All the water particulates are excited, and this allows us then to see. This is the visible light. This is the explanation behind visible light. So once we understand what the sun is, we can equate everything together. Once again, not that there's any sort of fixed agenda to talk about, but yeah, this gets back to combining everything together, seeing everything as a sort of integral part of the whole, as opposed to all of the split and disparate and separate components. Remember, if we think of the world like Jose, how you doing, Jose? What am I waffling on about? Well, usual. How you doing? But if we think of a world as you accept it now, everything is separate in the extreme. Right? All ours is 300,000 miles, or 300, sorry, not 300,000 miles. That sounds like that's too much, surely. No, it's not. It's 300 light years. To 9 miles. So go work out how many miles is 300 light years. Yeah, so in your world, everything is separated to that level. So if you really and truly hold to this is the reality, well, then you couldn't be much more separate from life, the universe, and it's as simple as that. When we come to a flat earth way of thinking, and a personal, sort of a close way of thinking, well, then everything changes. The context of everything changes. And we can now consider for the first time everything in a connected sense. You know, when you start to do that as an individual, there's nothing but individuals here, even though there's so many different characters, right? You know who you're dealing with. But yeah, as an individual, I think the pieces can start to sort of fit into place. And maybe this is the purpose of it all. You know, nothing accidental about anything that's happening here. All of these different divisions, all of these different outlets that we have are given to us, and the argument is sort of controlled to a big degree. What the free radical is you the individual, you the individual. So you know, yeah, everything's about context. So when I talk about it's always in a flat earth context. So there's no mixing and matching. You can't take pretty much any aspects of the heliocentric ball, the Big Bang universal view of things into your flat earth reckoning in a literal sense. Now you can learn from the metaphorical and apply via sort of inversion what you hold to be true or what science presents to be true. Um, yeah, you can apply it to reality and see where that takes you. That's the whole idea of it. But yeah, there's no mixing and blending and matching sort of models. That's a simple fact of things. And, you know, in a sense, we can understand that intrinsically. If you've been in this arena long enough, you've seen that. Where is it taking anybody? The same, no offense or anything. I mean, I love my fellow man, whatever the reasons, these people acting their parts are acting their parts for, you know, that they're acting their parts is clear. There's no denying that. Um, These are the bigger questions that we have to ask. We know that the Earth is flat and stationary. We know it's not what they've told us it is. So, well, what is the nature of true reality? You know, what questions are we urged on to ask? You know, where are we led towards? And in my thinking, the questions that apply to me or occur to me surely it must be the same questions to everybody. It's a pathway we're led down, right? So I reckon it's a continuing process. We just sort of enter it at a certain stage. But in terms of recent times, when we have these abilities to sort of communicate en masse, yeah, JFK, the movie, was a big turning point. Here we were introduced very professional in a very sort of convincing sense to a conspiracy that's so large. It's what would you say? It's not beyond reckoning. Here's this term as well: cognitive dissonance. It really comes to bear, what your sort of mind can handle. And it was presented to us via the mainstream. As I see now, it was all leading up to a certain point, and everything was leading up to a certain point. That's the way I see it from this point in time. And that point was 9/11, that transitionary point. So anytime I'm talking here, I was even wondering before I came on here, what are you talking about? What is it on? Who are you talking to? What the fuck are you doing? What's the point in doing this anymore? So when you ask them what's the point in doing this, you have to think about trying to define what the fuck you were doing. And what do you mean this? What is this? What was I doing beforehand? Yeah, and as I've said many times, well, what am I doing? I'm just fucking here talking to myself, right? I'm just here talking to myself. But I'm talking to myself, understanding that other people are listening as well, but it will just go down in the annals of time, as just some other people talking. Maybe not though. Maybe there's a greater significance to all this, and of course we know there is, but that doesn't come into things too much. This is an outlet for me, I guess, to just speak freely. It doesn't feel when I'm walking down the road. If I'm having any of these thoughts, it doesn't feel right to sort of speak them out loud. Have this sort of overt conversation with yourself. So in a big sense, this gives me this outlet. I've often said it before as well. I hope my beautiful Steve is listening to this, and this makes up somewhat for our long absence. But also, I am aware that there is a story. I have become aware anyway that there is a story that is told, is waiting to be read by all of us, and maybe we're all playing our parts in it. No matter what part you play here. I mean, for instance, perfect timing as well. Fyodor Dostoevsky. What part do you play here? What part did the man himself, Fyodor Dostoevsky, play? I read The Idiot and I read a few of his other books, but the questions I'm asking are these small fabricated characters, But to get back to the more personal sense here, what part is any of us playing here? These are all questions for the individuals, isn't that right? And there's no one can know anything else about anybody else. You do what you do, and well, you do it well, I guess. That's a sort of a pressing thing. I need to figure out what the fuck to do, what I need to do. And I'm pretty sure I can do lots of stuff well. What would be the purpose of it? But before I started to mean to attack you there, Fyodor, I'm sure that's not your first name. You Irish, but how you doing? I should greet you first of all. How you doing, man? You generally seem very knowledgeable in some of the comments and very reasonable as well. Even though you pretend, I guess, the way I look at it, you pretend to be a globe earther, so you're providing different level of maybe insight for those who care to listen or engage with you. But beyond that, I don't know. But I will welcome you and hope and think the best of you, and hope you have the best intentions and the best of hearts. So welcome. Let me just read out a comment. Thank you for that. Blessings to you and your family, Pete. You beautiful bastard. The parentheses are Oakley. I heard him call someone a beautiful bastard, and it was striking. Okay, well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Nathan certainly has his moments, doesn't he? What do you make of Nathan? Well, you see, we get dragged into the drama, but I appreciate the sentiment behind that people there. Fyodor, Fyodor. I noticed that your name definitely, but yeah. Cheers for that. You say you have a 1500 piece Van Gogh Starry Night jigsaw puzzle on the go while you're listening. Oh man, don't get me started about that. Actually, that might be a song I'll sing for you. Let me talk a bit, and I'll sing "Starry Starry Night" Fyodor. For fuck's sake, me and my Steve, right? Well, Steve was about 5, in primary school, and well, I went into with my guitar, just a bit of encouragement for the children. And I got myself and Steve learned a couple of songs, and we were to sit up at the front of the classroom and sing it to the rest of the children, maybe 20 children or something, you know. And one of the songs was "Starry Starry Night," and they were actually discussing "Starry Starry Night" as part of the curriculum, or talking point for the children. So I was impressed with that to begin with. But yeah, both myself and my son Steve learned that song, and we sat up at the front and sang it. The song that we started to sing, this is a big disappointment. You can't go back in time, of course, but big disappointment, Fyodor, was we learned completely. They say, this is back, when was that, 2006? Do they say it's a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care if the music good? And it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, the baffled king, composing hallelujah. So you all know that song. So we learned the Jeff Buckley version, which was 5 or 6 verses, but absolutely different from the Leonard Cohen original version. So when it came time for the two of us to go up and sing these songs, we had 3 songs practiced or rehearsed. Yeah, she brought up the lyrics for the Leonard Cohen version on the whiteboard. So I started to sing that, whereas I should have just told her to sing the other version. Anyway, Steve only got to join in the chorus, and yeah, but the other 2 songs he did well. One of those songs was "Starry Starry Night," and the other one was, if you remember, Ralph Harris. 2 little boys had 2 little toys, each had a wooden horse. That's a great song. I could sing that a bit. But "Starry Starry Night" was certainly one of them, and that brings back great memories. Well, everything and to be "Starry Starry Night." Now I understand that anytime I hear the word "star," in any context whatsoever, because everything is sort of pre-written. Well, it always reverts back to the only star there is, Aristarchus. I'm not sure how you feel about that. Fyodor, I'm sure you'd disagree, and even if you agreed, you'd tell me you disagree anyway. So, yeah, maybe I'll get around to singing that in a bit. I'll just bring up the lyrics, and hopefully I can bluff the chord. Say hello to Mind and Manny. How you doing, the Mind and Manny? Many hands make light work, right? Good to see you, Manny. When I say that you sound like Yogi Bear, don't take offense or don't be hurt by it. You definitely could do a good impression of Yogi Bear. So yeah, hopefully, well, Manny, you seem to be fighting the good fight as well. But yeah, what do you hope out of all of this? What are you hoping to achieve? Who are we hoping to convince? I was over in what channel was that? Flat Earth Dude. So nothing about Flat Earth Dude. Nothing to say about Flat Earth. It was nothing to do with him. It was just the panel that was on. And they were talking about. Jin was talking about. Who's in Japan? He was talking about the JFK and how JFK and his brother Robert Kennedy were taken out because they wanted too much for us. They wanted fairness. They wanted love. They wanted equality. All this sort of stuff. So they had to be taken out. No, man, this is bollocks. This is absolute bollocks. This is nonsense. JFK was the first TV president. He was put in place. He's just as much of an actor as any of the actors in fucking Sandy Hook or Boston bombing or 9/11 or Waco or Oklahoma or Pearl Harbor or Titanic, you name it, you name it, you name it. So yeah, we can't be fooled by these things. We've come too far, right? We've definitely come too far, or at least I have anyway. And I guess if that's the way it goes, that you come a certain pathway yourself, and then you just divert off from everyone else. No matter what you say, people have to go through a similar sort of pathway. But if that's the way it is, so be it. But yeah, we should be realizing these things at this stage. Sandy Hook was 2012. Sandy Hook was the most obvious um, example, I guess, of media fakery. And as was presented an anomalous story from top to bottom, presented to us conspiracy-minded people who were led here to begin with. So if you haven't progressed to thinking in terms of media fakery for 9/11, or any prior events as well, especially post events, well then, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's on you, I guess. It's on you and nobody else. When the time comes, you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't see it, like, because we were encouraged at every step. Now, what do you do with that? Well, that's the next question. How you doing, Irving? How you doing, bud? And Rob, see you, bud. Gives a song. Okay, I said the next song I'll sing is Starry, Starry Night. I'll give it a try anyway. Yeah, give me a few minutes on that. Irving says, "How you doing, by the way?" The song was a particular favorite of the late rapper and actor Tupac Shakur and was played to him in the hospital just before he died. Wiki, Starry, Starry Night. Get the fuck, Irving. Come on, man. Unbelievable. So we all know about the Tupac Island, and yeah, it's not that difficult to. We're set in lead at every hand's turn, right? So you're bound to, if you have a certain curiosity about you, be led down the conspiracy path regarding Tupac Shakur's death. Now, I didn't know anything about the guy himself, but yeah, that it was fake. I'm absolutely sure. And is he still active on the scene? I'll tell you something, Irving. Now you might be interested in doing your own comparisons here. But Kevin Luby, um, it was a very interesting man. Kevin Luby is, but he says, I've looked into it myself, as I said, because I never knew much about Tupac Shakur. Only that, just another one of the actors on the stage, fake death, exit stage left, take on a different persona, like uh, just spoke a second ago about Jeff Buckley's version of Leonard Cohen's songs. Well, Jeff Buckley came out with his famous sort of groundbreaking album Grace, and then a few other offerings later, he decides to walk into a river fully clothed, and that's the end of him. So for me now, it's a fake death. He went on to do other things or whatever. He's still active in the scene, I'm sure. But Tupac Shakur, yeah, if you're going to believe this, Irving, maybe maybe I'm not going to do it. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. But he says, not D Marble. The character D Marble, the flat Earth, Arthur D Marble. That's what Kevin Luby reckons. Tupac Shakur is. He's playing the role, or he and D Marble, a flat Earth. Prominent figure are one and the same. Not sure about that. Absolutely not sure about that. But just as you posted there, Starry, Starry Night, well, as we have the star in everything as well, the star is everywhere. Um, as I progress, what can I say here, right? What can I say? All I can say is what I've been saying all along. As I progress, everything continues to scream Aristarchus. Everything comes back to R.I. star, because all the stars in the sky have been named so in reference to the source, the cause, the generator of all of these skylines. Aristarchus, the decapitated tree of life, Mount Meru, Yggdrasil, located at the North Center, we can see it expressing and in its expressed, or sorry, in its reflected form with all the skylights, most particularly the moon, where we can see all the craters in great detail. The craters, creators, uh, once again, a kaleidoscopic expression. Everything just hones back into one thing itself, one crater alone, um, which is Aristarchus. We live on the back of Aristarchus, which is sort of pointing us towards the fractal nature of this reality, whatever we might call it. But then Aristarchus also then extends inwards to the very heart of our matters. So, yeah, if that's the official story given to us regarding the death of rapper and actor, rapid actor Tupac Shakur, yeah, the song that was played to him just before he died, "Starry, Starry Night," there's great significance there. So if you can find a better context, I don't know, you're most welcome. You're most welcome to try. All this is some fucking dodo talking, right? At 5:42, at 5:42 in the morning as well. So um, yeah, this is all this is all. I mean, once we recognize the theater for what it is, then we have to put some sort of a reason behind it. We have to put some sort of a greater um, interpretation behind it to make some sort of sense of our own reality and how it pertains our everyday existence, how our sort of mindset, how our being fits into this greater picture. Where else can you go? Where else can you go? That's, I don't know. Where else can you go? It seems to me that you can go any place else. Nothing happens most of the time. Now we're all sort of gravitated towards these topics for well, naturally. First of all, out of natural curiosity, we want to find out, we want to figure out the truth, but also because we've been sort of nudged and pushed, and I don't know because they're forced here, but it's almost as if you're forced here. We remember the early days when no matter what video you were watching, a flat Earth video came up as a suggestion, right? So again, all of these things are put in our path. So what it brings us to do is to ask the deeper questions. We know the Earth is flat, but do we know the Earth is flat? Well, we do in relation to the spinning ball Earth model. This is the dichotomy sort of offered us. So we're either one side or the other. I can tell you right here, right now, the Earth is not flat and still. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it's only asking me to define the earth, you know, because when I say earth and you hear earth, you're definitely painting a different picture and taking a different meaning from the word than I do. And well, that makes all the difference, doesn't it? It's all about, the words that we use, but well, the words lead to, when we're talking about these greater considerations, the words lead to a bigger picture. That's a good way of putting it. We paint our own picture of the universe and our life within that universe. Um, in a big way, my thinking these days revolves around us consenting to being in this construct and striving towards figuring it out. And yeah, I think everybody has the ability to figure it out. When I think about, just from my own, obviously from my own position, when I think about all the stuff that I have learned, and nothing new under Aristarchus, right? It's all different clues that we're picking up and we're running with. Yeah, the way it leads my mind to think anyway is that every single one of us is capable of working this stuff out. It's just about simplifying it. It's just about letting go of all the baggage that we've been um, tricked are brainwashed into carrying along with us. And when you do that, then well, a different reality unfolds. And as I say, maybe this is the ultimate purpose of us having this experience in the first place. But beyond certain bounds, I guess there's no going. There's no going. So yeah, ultimately it all comes back to just a man fucking sitting in the bedroom, talking to a computer. But maybe there's more to it than that. There's certainly a collective effort in all of this, and it goes to um, the deepest of levels, and it spans. I was going to say vast swathes of distant time, but we don't have vast swathes of time in the distance. But the story tells us we do, and it's just more particularly associated with the Earth in its current form. I mean, whatever was the reality in association with the unbroken Earth, well, who knows about that? We can maybe search or elsewhere for greater insights into that. But in terms of its current form and format, well, our Earth is very young indeed, and there's lots of stories that go along, you know, with it to fill in the gaps. How you doing, Tig? Aristarchus is the most encoded word in the English language, but the difficulty here is it makes it more difficult again. Well, what are you looking to do anyway in the first place? But yeah, the difficulty here is just absolutely nobody else. Nobody else talking about this. Nobody else talking about this take. Absolutely nobody else. But I am absolutely certain that this significance is there because I'm being pointed out. We're all being pointed to it in our own ways, but I'm being pointed to it from every sort of level and from every direction. As I often mentioned, my set of influences might have pointed me a certain way, but the same thing equally applies to you. Whatever influences you, the same story will, at its core, be being told to you. It's there for you to read and there for you to pick up. Especially, when you're talking about the more influential, let's say, with bands or authors or movies or anything like that. So yeah, it's the same story. It's our story. It's not his story. It's not her story. It's our story, right? It's the same thing that connects us all. And yeah, once again, who are you talking about here? I've been on my own for the longest of time, and then I'm just talking to myself. My best connection here to my son, the person I care the most about, is via this, and all I can do is hope that my son's watching, and you know, but otherwise, who am I talking to? Yeah. Um, yeah, Arya Stark. Arya Stark. Why would the name this most prominent of TV offerings in terms of Game of Thrones? I haven't even watched it. I don't know much about it. I just watched Arya Stark going around killing loads of people in one of these YouTube collected clips. But yeah, why the name? The main protagonist here, the main character, Arya Stark, in the light of what I have to say about R.I. Stark, Arya R.I. Stark. Yeah, remember, the answer is known. The whole construct then is based around the answer. I talked about this in relation to my thoughts on if I was ever to write a detective novel or something like that. And I realized this before I looked it up or I read it somewhere else. That yeah, you start from the end. That's the easiest way of doing it. You'd have the solution in place, and then you'd work your way backwards, and you can make it as intricate as you like. Then you're going from a fixed starting point, so everything is sort of reversed. So it's the same thing when we get clues like Arya Stark. The answer is already there. Aristarchus, right? And everything else then is built around it. It's only when you have the proper context that you can see the significance and how everything fits together. And as always, I'm just speaking from my own point of view. Who else can I be speaking for? You know, and I certainly have. I certainly just not just a whim, or it's just not something I'm saying. I have never looked upon any of this as quest to sort of convince anybody else. Absolutely not. How can I relate to it? This is an outlet given to us, and I'm grateful for the outlet in terms of just being able to speak out loud about certain things, and it's only by speaking out loud and verbalizing certain thoughts that me as an individual as well has been able to sort of consider things that I otherwise would not have considered, you know. Okay, the rig. Who's the rig? The rig. I heard the rig. The rig. Okay, I don't see the rig there. I just switched to live chat, but I don't see any greeting from the rig. The rig itself is an interesting name, or IG. No, I don't see that, man. Maybe the rig has me banned. I don't know. I don't think. I'm not going to go into. Well, I don't think I have anyone banned, but I didn't seem there's any need for. Oh, the rig, pissy peg leg Pete. Okay, all right. I think I actually remember that rig. I was just thinking, what am I going to do? Get upset by that, right? Although I'm a pretty sensitive guy, I could easily get upset. I'll tell you what I'll do, Fedor. I'll rent you up there, man. You don't have to do anything about that. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, come on, I'm used to that. I've heard that a million and one times. Pissy peg leg Pete. I mean, I have a peg leg. Yeah, to show you it, I haven't wearing it at the minute, actually. That would be true. I'll take it off now, and if I take it off, it would just be more difficult to sort of get on and get comfortable. I think you can see it there. Yeah. Pissy Pete, yeah, I drink urine, absolutely. Um, recommend it to anybody. Recommend it to anybody. So if you think about it, and I'm not the picture of health here now, so lots of things aren't right there. But in terms of urine, if you think about it, right, it's a disinfectant externally. It has good healing properties externally. What can it do internally, right? When you put loads of shit into your body, you're going to get loads of shit out. When you treat your body properly, which I don't do, but hopefully, well, not too bad. Okay, but yeah, the better you treat your body, the better the product you get out, and it's a sort of how would you? It's the I was thinking about this as well. The perpetual motion machine. Another metaphor, just like the spinning ball Earth is a metaphor. Everything comes back to us, right? So can we live forever? You know, um, that's a different matter. It's a different matter. But things like this have a great bearing in my thought process anyway. Yeah, you're right. I'll never get cancer. I know I won't get cancer. I know because I know I have a grasp on sort of the processes that are going on. And again, I've separated myself from, well, from the truth, from the truth of my education, from the truth of my history, my evolution, etc. And I come to see my body and, well, all of our bodies in a different light. So regarding urine, well, yeah, you are in E, right? Understand the letters. Yeah, whole E spirit. We are in a divided state. We have two halves to us, right? We're divided down the center. We have the left and the right. The right left-hand path, right-hand path. We're told that the left brain controls, or the right brain controls the left-hand side of our body. The left brain controls the right-hand side. And this is where the S comes into things. This is what the S represents via the heart center. Right, so we have three centers, or immaterial center, or brain center, where my thought is coming from to urge me and to prompt me to say the words I'm saying right now. Right, I couldn't do that if I didn't have this immaterial center. Right, my heart center, if I had that, if I had my groin center, um, well, all good. But if I didn't have my head center, my immaterial center, I wouldn't be able to express the thought that I have, the frequency vibration exiting my mouth. Remember I talked about behemoth? Well, mouth is you, moth, you moth, M-O-T-H. I was thinking of that original skeleton key. The key that opens all. It's our own bodies. So when we think about our bodies, their construct, its physiology, but most especially in terms of the names and nomenclature. Why is my head my head? Why is the crown of my head the crown of my head? Why is my ear my ear? Why is my eye my eye? This is the skeleton key. This is the skeleton key, and well, yeah. So I don't mind the rig. He can say what he wants. I'm tough skinned. Dodo is tough skinned, and I certainly wouldn't ban him or remove that comment because it doesn't affect me in any way. You're free to say what you like. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's a sign of insanity. It's like the ball Earth. It's like, yeah, you're the insane one for suggesting to people that they're insane, that people in Australia are not walking, they're insane for believing that people in Australia, in relation to Ireland here, for instance, are walking upside down. It's the most insane thing we can ever accept. But you're insane for suggesting that's not the case. Right? So it's exactly the same thing when it comes to, well, drinking your own urine. Oh, that's disgusting. That's terrible. Well, what do you put in your mouth, bud? What do you put in your mouth? When you have your lamb dinner, your beef dinner tomorrow, do you cast a thought towards the innocent lamb or innocent bullock killed at 2 years of age, when a lamb can live into its mid-20s and beyond? Say a bullock, I think it was a bullock, and actually my son's mum, and it was the oldest bullock in Ireland in recorded history. I think it lived to Big Bertha. It was called in Kildysford in Clare. I think it was like 44 years or something. So yeah, you're putting that into your stomach, a life dethroned, right? So yeah, how do you think that's going to affect your system, especially if your system works in a different way than what you think it works? So yeah, to me, drinking my own urine, that's nothing, man. What the fuck? Come on. Even when I talk about consummation, the body of Christ, even when I talk about what the holy bread actually is, which is the man's semen, this is still disgusting to people. That's fair enough, right? But I will ask you, what's your biggest desire in life? Well, if you're a man, you're going to tell me that it's to, put your semen in a female in some form or another. So, yeah, come on. This is why we have to have a different point of view on all of these things. And people like the Rig will constantly sort of try to chisel and sort of attack and ridicule and all of these sort of things. But yeah, absolutely, Tom, well beyond that. The truth is not for everyone, right? And needs must is the case as well. I was thinking earlier on, why do these characters continue to do what they're doing? They're making it more and more obvious as well. How can they do that? They're all united in a lie, and that doesn't just apply to the spin ball Earth side, the polar antagonist, plus the flat Earth side as well. So how can they all cooperate and lie, put on a facade? Well, yeah, maybe there's a deeper explanation. They know about some of the stuff that I'm talking about. As someone who's not on the inside, I don't know what any fucking knows, but there is definitely some sort of superstructure to all of this. And well, what can you do? What can you do? You can point it out to people. You've got to point it out to yourself first of all, but can you point it out to other people? Well, yes, you can. You can speak freely. You can speak freely. And if there's anyone out there listening, well, maybe you grasp on something that you didn't sort of grasp on before, and it will help you along your own path. Is that the best we hope for at the end of this day? I guess so. I guess so. In terms of the individual, anyway. But yeah, I also think there's a greater plan that affects us all in play, and well, that is coming to an end. Been waiting for the end. I'll turn the light off here. Turn the light off. Let the dawn light smother us. Okay, well, time for a song. So I hope I can pull it off. There's a couple of tricky chords, so I hope I can bluff them. We'll just get up the lyrics the way I won't forget. Starry, Starry Night. Absolutely very significant. And you know, Fyodor, that you mentioned that it was the last song requested by Tupac Shakur on his fake deathbed makes it significant in itself. But the song had significance to me, certainly from early doors anyway. Yeah, let me sing it out. Certainly bring back memories to me. So I'm going to have to try singing low as well, so that might make a little difference to how it comes across, but I'll give it a go. Starry, starry night, paint your palettes blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day for eyes that see the darkness in my soul, shadows on the hill. Sketch the trees and daffodils, catch the breeze and winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand. Well, what you tried to say to me, how you suffered for your sanity, how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly blaze, while swirling clouds and boiling haze reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber gray, weathered faces lined in pain are soothing the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, how you suffered for your sanity, how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you. Still your love was true. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like strangers that you met. The ragged man in ragged dreams, the silver thorn, the bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you tried to say to me, how something for your sanity. How you tried to set them free, they would not listen, they're not listening still. Perhaps they never will. That's the best I can do unrehearsed anyway. There's a few sort of tricky chords in that. So hope that came across okay. Brilliant song, very, very sad song. And, well, what can you do? I'll stop singing, Manny, when hell freezes over. Throughout all of this, I swear to you, all of this, I don't know how you describe it. Desperation, shit. One thing, well, guitar. Without my guitar, I couldn't have made it, I think. Definitely. I spent so much time on my own. Yeah. But no, that was terrible. To any guitar players out there, that was terrible. But I'm trying to sort of keep it down as well. Certainly haven't rehearsed it in years. Is this some, like I forgot completely the G minor chord. So back in so let me try a better version of the bridge then, if I can. For they could not love you, still your love was true. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you then, son, this world was never meant for one as beautiful. Alright, so what I forgot there was the G minor chord. I was playing it in D, so that sort of important bridge. But the song itself, yeah, Starry Starry Night, did Van Gogh exist? I mean, is it just more fabrication? I say yes. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I mean, I'm asking myself, how far now that I've written off history? If you're not aware, well, I say everything in terms of our current Earth goes back 421 years this year to the discovery of the dodo, changing face of the land, post-destruction, inundation, 421 years. And that's not to say, as I say in my own brain, that everything post 1598 is fixed in a certain reality, not at all. But this is certainly a starting point in my own brain. When it comes to characters like Van Gogh, yeah, and new to well, you should have already found out about Einstein, Tesla, these type of crafted characters. So does it apply across the board? Well, I say yes. So maybe there's a greater, deeper significance in this song than you're aware of. The melody is beautiful, and it's ingrained within you. So yeah, maybe little clues like Tupac Shakur, understanding that he faked his death, then hearing that Starry Starry Night was the last song he requested, so we understand it's all scripted. Maybe we can put the pieces together. I mean, all I can do is ask anyone who's judging me, well, how are you doing at putting the pieces together? How are you doing? Foyder Dostoevsky says William Defoe recently starred as Van Gogh in a Hollywood film entitled At Eternity's Gate. Okay, interesting. To the pearly gates, would that be the pearly gates? The pearly gates, the oyster gives us the pearl. The oyster is the I star, Easter Sunday, Ishtar Sunday, I star Sunday. So remember, Fyodor, where I'm coming from, and everything I say now, well, it's all based on the notion, whatever you want, the realization that our reality, in terms of the skylights, is composed of a singular source, or comprised of a singular source, better way of putting it, which is Aristarchus. So the pearly gates, that association with the oyster, the eye star, um, yeah, it makes sense to me in that format, you know what I mean, in terms of putting those little pieces together. I've been able to relate all of these, well, distant concepts, when we say that, in terms of the pearly gates or eternity's gate. Yeah, you know, in terms of us being able to bring these separate concepts home, I guess, how we can relate to them ourselves, and that's certainly the way I see it. It's the game of life. It's a grand puzzle there to be figured out, because I understand intrinsically I'm a greater being than what I come across as here to myself and others. Well, yeah, that in my worldview makes sense anyway. It's a grand puzzle. It's a grand route to make our way through towards greater realization. We are in a divided state, as without, so within, and beyond a certain point, can't talk about these things. How can you? Like, you know, as I say, it's an isolated path that I'm on in terms of my piecing together of all of these disparate pieces. So how can I hope? What I'm trying to sort of figure out here is how can I hope to um, put that across in any sort of coherent sense when I know that no one is following me. But that's in a direct sort of chat here. What I certainly know is that people know the truth. And I was on Dell's chat tonight, and he was calling for exploration again. And that's fine, man. It's fine in theory. But as we were saying, what are you going to do? Set a sort of a 10-year schedule, organize hundreds, if not thousands, of people, and arrange a whole logistical operation surrounding particular goals and motivations. That's fine, man. But you know, how's that going to work out in practicality? How long do you think you have? 10 years is a lifetime away from me now as well. So all these things sort of come into it, you know. But when it comes to the individual, um, well, you're the best person to ask where you're at this stage in the game, and no one can answer that for you. So I'm sort of aware of that as well. And yeah, well, in one sense, I would say there's a certain sort of futility to all of this. It certainly seems that way. We had the recent departure of Mrs. Flat Earth, the suicide, someone referred to it. This character called Rozovsky. Rozovsky. Does anyone know Rozovsky? If you're a baller, so you definitely know this guy Rozovsky. A particularly nasty character, but a character that seems to be lingering in the background for years and then but he puts me down as being responsive. Is it Rozovsky now? Oh, fucking atheist Rex. He puts me down. Everyone should thank me. Was one of his comments that I was responsible for the suicide of Patricia Steer. So you know what we got to do is see these little games. We got to see this arena for what it is, and see through these characters, and well, make your own individual way through well your mire, you know. Jennifer Winterburn, how you doing, Jennifer? Um, it's pretty late, 6:22. The light is good though. The sun is just coming back around. All it's done is, yeah. I was looking last night. Was it last night with Skyfly Bry? He was on Stellarium, and what It was very, very helpful, actually, very, very helpful. And now I'm after sort of, I wouldn't say copper fastening another thought in my mind, but it certainly makes its way towards that point, or that sort of description. Just to briefly describe, to say, we can all experience the moon. Channel Q's question was, why can people in Australia um, observe the moon in a inverted sort of sense to what we experience, right? So we all know the rabbit ears on the moon. So when you're in Australia, when you're in New Zealand, that seems inverted. So in other words, it seems rotated around 180 degrees. So you're looking at it from the opposite side. And um, Skyfly brought up stellarium, and okay, so I tried to frame everything in terms of my idea of reality. So we live in a flat plane. We're not, the Earth is not flat. We live on the stump of Aristarchus, right? So as it just juts out from above the waters, we have a barrier over us. The water is flat everywhere on the top, right? The biggest variation in water level from horizontal, from absolute horizontal, earth-wide, is the biggest variation from highest to lowest tide, earth-wide, which is about 30 meters, 100 feet, outside of any massive swells or storms or something. But thereabouts 100 feet earth-wide across the earth. It's 100 feet water level, ocean level across the earth. But um, why can people in Australia see the moon upside down in relation to our position here in Ireland? So the one thing I said to Skyfly Bry, South Africa is pretty much on the same longitude. Now, we'll forget about longitudes for a minute. Time zone is a better example, because you see, if it's 12 o'clock here and someplace in South Africa, it's also 12 o'clock. That just means that the sun is pretty much hitting us at the same time. So when he brought up the view of the moon, I would look to someone at that particular moment in South Africa as compared to how it would look at this particular moment to someone here in Ireland, i.e. me. Well, what we had was not quite an inversion. We had a rotation, or a skewing. We were, it wasn't quite 180 degrees. So if you think of the face of the moon and rotate it in a horizontal axis 180 degrees, it wasn't quite that, but it was about yeah, definitely, a big number of degrees. It was probably about 130, 140 degrees or something like that. So this is a big clue for me in terms of not the land. Again, the land is flat, the water is flat, but the contour of the barrier and the relation of that particular location in South Africa to this particular location here in Ireland. So that was very helpful. And um, yeah, I don't know how you view that yourself. Lots of time doesn't seem to be spent on the skylights, what's going on above us. We want to stick purely and cleanly to flat Earth. This is what all of the ball earthers, all of the main, not ball earthers, all of the main flat Earth actors do. What they do very well. They nail it. It's nailed. But when it goes to beyond, well, that's beyond our reckoning, beyond our ability to be able to discern. So we have to leave that out of the equation. Well, this is the gate. This is the gate that keeps me. Everything can be discerned. It's only when we separate everything that we have no hope of, for the individual, being able to piece things together. For me, in my view, the sky is intimately connected with the earth, as are the skylights. It's all part of the same system. And well, once again, for me, the decapitated tree of life, we have a family tree. Think of the number of parts, body parts associated with tree parts. The trees play a massive part in all of this. And once again, it's metaphorical in the big sense, because we do live in a construct. We ourselves, the experiencer here, are the more valuable thing, and we are in the divided state. So whatever's going on, There's no separating the up from the down or the out from the in. Where can you go with that? What am I supposed to do with that? I mean, well, not what who am I asking here? I guess what I was thinking of lately. I mean, if I was going to do something, just to sum up everything in my brain, I guess a series of short 5-minute videos with lots of different sort of backing images and maybe some text, but with some original music as well, and just putting across the greater idea. I mean, yeah, that's the way I would be thinking if I was to look forward in any sense. But once again, yeah, who am I talking to? Am I trying to put out some sort of a message? No, not really. Just as I've always said, I've been documenting my progress, if you want to put it like that, um, through this arena and documenting my thought process. So that's where I'm at this stage. Everything boils down to Aristarchus. There's no shifting me from there, not at this point anyway. So where do you go from there? I've been on a few hangouts recently, and well, the one thing's for certain, it's becoming increasingly difficult for bowlers to deal with some of the questions I have anyway, and especially when you're allowed to sort of expand upon things. All you can ever do, or any question I'm asked, you're sort of you're bunched into a category. I don't take it too seriously, but you're bunched into a category. Flat earthers think this. This is a leading flat earther, therefore you have to go along with this or that. Well, of course, that doesn't work. And in general, that's why all of these organized, cooperative antagonists, be they ball earthers or flat earthers, all sort of read from the same page. And well, I guess they don't like dealing with me anyway. For whatever reason, you deem the reason whatever you deem it. For me myself, well, yeah, I say it's because well they know every actor recognizes every other actor, so they know that when I come in and I ask difficult questions, you can't mention 9/11 media fakery or victim fakery anywhere now, right? You can't, no matter where it is, all Earth, flat Earth, you can't mention it. It's a dirty word. Immediately shut down, kicked out. Um, yeah, so you know that shows you, that should show you, like if everything is above board, these none of these topics should be out of reach or should be controversial. But yeah, once again, the whole arena is controlled, and then we have YouTube and their pressures. Yeah, it's not a very good state of affairs at all, at all. And I should imagine more so if you haven't made any personal progress. If you're caught up in all of this, and um, I don't know, you're not thinking in terms of greater picture. Well, then I feel bad for you. It's because there's no satisfaction to be had. Everything is stagnated, and well, as I mentioned a little bit, Patricia Steer's scripted exit. Yeah, this marks sort of some demarcation point, right? Something has changed because the script was always written. Yeah, Patricia's exit was crafted into the whole narrative. Reasons for that, well, that's up for you to decide. I know, of course, and I've been calling out, not from the start, not from the start. I watched Patricia Steer Flat Earth, Mark Sargent's Clues with a great heart, great encouragement. Honestly, did all the way until well, what is it, 5 years later now? Yeah, at a certain point, you start to get a little bit wary. Then you start questioning things more, and over time, then well, you end up becoming the enemy. But I always, after a certain point of realization, I knew it was all scripted, and I looked deeper into the codes. The names themselves, Patricia Steer, our email she gave out freely is Miss Steer. So Patricia Miss Steer, Magical Mystery Tour. Ourself and our partnership with Mark Sargent, who told us he was a prepper. Here we have Mark Sargent Prepper, Mark Sargent Pepper. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So these are two distinct and definite connections to the Beatles. Now, actually, I'm going to do that now because I meant to do it last time, so I'll do it with perfect timing. Since Patricia left, this is to. Hang on, let me get this and share the screen. Okay, one second. Again, this won't mean, it's not that it won't mean anything to anybody, but it will mean something to somebody, but so I can share my whole screen. Yeah, here we go. You've seen this before loads of times, I'm sure. 2015 Economist magazine, Earthwide publication, the most significant sort of publication in print, I would say, the most influential. So the same hand that's behind everything else has their hand in this. And what might they be presenting? Well, to show you the significance of the Beatles and Patricia Steere. Patricia Steere is only a conduit to the Beatles. Here we have the Beatles guitar in the corner, right, which Patricia Steere has up on her wall every single show she had. Now all internet presence is gone. But look what we have in the other corner here. Remember Mark Sargent's strange microphone? There we have it here. And what is that? What do we find it nearby? Well, we find it nearby Alice from Alice in Wonderland, looking at the Cheshire Cat. While Mark Sargent Pepper, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the album Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is a walk through Alice in Wonderland. All of the songs are connected to Alice in Wonderland, starting from the very first song all the way to the end. So there we have this dual connection. We have the left, the right, the male, the female. Now the time has come for Patricia to depart. I think it's significant that my name was mentioned, the dodo was mentioned, PJ was mentioned, because as I say, I mentioned all of this stuff to Patricia and Mark in the days when we were, let's say, on better terms. So they know what's going on, and yeah, do you? Now, I mentioned at the time of this as well. So there we have this reference to Patricia Steere, Mark Sargent. Why is it significant? Well, is it significant? Then here we have the turtle in the center missing something, right? Missing the payload. We're all familiar with the turtle carrying the four elephants, and then we have the disc birth. Well, here we have the disc earth. Where's the elephants? Well, the elephant's on the floor here. I did this loads of times before. Here we have a reflection of the battery above, but it's actually the elephant's eye, and you can see the trunk coming up here. I haven't got an image now without the writing. You notice here the dodo looks like 8 on its side, infinity, infinity. What I did point out about this, the hidden puzzle, I'm as far as I'm aware, I'm the first person to figure it out, to spot it and to work it out. As I was entering this, I knew what the solution would be, only because when it came out first, 2015, I had gotten to this point. I knew we were being pointed somewhere, but I hadn't a greater context. I was a flat earther, of course, but I just hadn't put pieces together. When I revisited it, after figuring out the significance of the dodo, then it all made sense. I realized, let me just walk you through this briefly. This is an homage to Sergeant Pepper's. If you look at the front cover of Sergeant Pepper's, there we have a very similar setting. And Paul Fall, who is the dodo, Paul Fall McCartney, he's the dodo. He has the hand over his head as well. So this is our starting point. As we look for simple clues, like children must become, We look at Putin's hand, we zoom in on Putin's hand here, and the knuckle is pointed down purposefully. This is all a storyboard, if you will, or all a crafted um, set, electronic set, I guess. So if we look at the Pied Piper, we're supposed to follow the Pied Piper, of course. Well, children, we follow the arrows. We point downwards, and when we follow the arrows, we're led down to the sky. He's pointing to a certain way. He's pointing to the globe. The globe is pointing upwards to the panda here. There's lines where I've drawn lines and pointing upwards. We can even see through the panda's legs here. We have an arrow, right? And we have stars on the crotch, but that's beside the point. Yeah, pointing upwards. So when I came across I knew there was a puzzle originally when it came out. In that context, I got stuck here. Where do I go from here? Where do I go from Angela Merkel? So once again, once I've simplified it and thought like a child, well, I can't go left because I'm going to get cut to bits by the helicopter. So I go right, follow the arrows, hold the upper arm, and then we see a shadow of Obama, Will Smith, Will Smith. Can you see Will Smith there? Actually, can I see Will Smith? I'm going to zoom in on that in a second. Let's see if I can see Will Smith. But yeah, we see the shadow of Obama's hand across his chest, which is pointing us over in this direction. As we zoom in, look, you can see it pointing over. As we zoom in, it's pointing directly at the sky. We're just following the arrows. His nose area is a definitive arrow, and we're pointing upwards. As we go left, there's red for stop. As we go right, we're continually pointed downwards, and that's. As we continue downwards, we're pointed. You can see the arrow here between the two shoulders. We're pointing now. The conspiracy-minded be caught up in all of these different so-called clues, but yeah, the simple-minded will make these more basic connections as we make it up. The body of Spider-Man. We can't go left. We can't go left because that's a dead end. As we go right, yeah, well then we're pointed down by David Cameron's hand to this photograph. This photograph, if you look it up, what it was, it's a photograph by Leonardo da Vinci. And if you bring it up, this is going back a couple of years ago in my investigation. I'm only doing this because Patricia Steer left so recently. This image is actually the lady featured in the picture, and is actually looking the other way. So if you brought up this picture, I can't remember what. No, I can't remember what the name of it is now. But yeah, this lady's actually looking the other way. So things have been reversed. So when you reverse it back and you mirror it back, this lady actually looks at Alice, and Alice is looking at the Cheshire Cat. You see the arrows from the little tree or the branch that are sticking out, all arrows pointing us. And then we get across. There's actually a 33 written on Obama's leg. We get to the core here. This is the solution itself. Well, and this has been in my mind recently as well. This is a condom, a prophylactic. Now, there's two islands for eyes. The neighboring island to Mauritius is called Reunion Island. So remember I talk about, this is in a different context now, remember I talk about separation, unity, division, reunification. So yeah, we have two islands. One, a prophylactic reunion island, love-making island. We have a holiday island, a holiday destination. And well, as I say, this is a condom. As we're following the arrows, first of all, we have the hidden hand within the book here. But as we're following the arrows, even drawing an extra line pointing upwards, we have OD, right? And everything's reversed. That's DO, right? And then we look in the corner here where the other thumb of this ghost or this condom's pointing, and we have a 2. So dodo, holiday island destination over in the Indian Ocean somewhere, which is central here. Look, central point of the map. So yeah, the solution being the dodo and Mauritius, and that takes us on further then. So as I said, everything is intimately connected with flat Earth. If we look up at the sun and the moon here, you'd think it was the sun and the moon, wouldn't you? Above everything, but it's actually, what is it? What is that? Of course, we recognize India and look at the central position. This is where Mauritius is located as well, just around this area here. We're supposed to have the side of Africa, Australia, etc. So we have two sides here to the same coin. What is this telling us? This should be the sun and the moon, yet it's reflecting Earth. Well, this is telling us that there's no separating anything. The sun and the moon and the earth are all intimately connected. Why? Well, that's where Aristarchus comes into it. Aristarchus, well, the moon is a direct reflection of the sun. The sun is a reflection of Polaris. Polaris is a reflection of Aristarchus. So Aristarchus is the decapitated tree of life emanating from the north center, but to reflect the fractal nature of this world, we also live on the back of Aristarchus. So, yeah, all very interesting. But the reason I just brought that up there was, well, for this reason, that's why Patricia Steere had the Beatles guitar on her wall. It's all scripted here. Look, there it is. And then we have the 50th anniversary in 2015 was of the Beatles. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's when Mark Sargent's Clues came out throughout 2015, all coinciding. So have you been paying attention? Well, if not, I guess I'm on my own because as far as I can see, no one is paying attention. We also note here, look at the oval shape of the Earth. I have another picture, the Oculus mosaic. Very, very similar, isn't it? Look at that. Also, bring up the. Let me just rotate this around. Look at how close that is. Well, no, obviously it's not a blade spheroid. The game rugby itself, well, again, everything is constructed around the natural reality and all clues for us. But if you look up the cosmic background microwave radiation map, you will get something very similar to this here in shape and in form. We're told that the sun is at the center of our system, and all of the planets, and moons, etc., all planetoids, all revolve around an elliptical fashion. Right. So, what if the Earth is still? Does that mean that all of the skylines rotate around the still Earth in an elliptical fashion? Yes, that's what I think is here. But yeah, very, very interesting, these little similarities, these little connections. But as I said, for your own, let me bring it up here actually. I don't want to bring too much up here now because cosmic microwave background. There you go. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect. Let me just bring up the other image here. What do you reckon, friends? What do you think? This is the whole universe, they're telling you here. Cosmic microwave background radiation is the radiation left over from the Big Bang, traces of the Big Bang, which, well, has been gathered and mapped in this particular fashion. Look at how very, very similar this is. So if this is the universe that there is, well, can we see it in terms of metaphor and, translate it? Well, I say we can. This is the Oculus mosaic, in case you haven't heard me talking about that before. It's to be found beneath the WTC Center, WTC, the World Trade Center in New York. And it's to be found on the floor of Chambers Street subway station. So very significant indeed. We know of course, we know WTC from the 9/11 fame, and wherever you landed on regarding 9/11, let me tell you this: is it's most pertinent. When I came to Flat Earth, I was expecting so many things. I guess one of the things I would taken almost for granted that Flat Earths had open minds. So if you hadn't heard about 9/11, media, total media and victim fakery, well, at least you open in your mind up to it now that someone has mentioned it to you, and now you do the necessary research and easily satisfy yourself that it's the case as well. But no, that's the case. So much resistance, always encountered up to this day. When I asked Antonio Subas, how come you never talked about 9/11 media victory? He knew about it. Nathan Oakley knew about it. They all know about it when I pushed them, but they never talked about it. Leave that to someone else. Yeah, there's something else going on here, right? But yeah, just to finish off on these two images, there's a cosmic microwave background radiation map or chart of the universe, and here we have, as I say, the Oculus mosaic. This is the true flat Earth map, and what we need to do is to piece it together. All the continental land masses here are accurately scaled and proportioned. What we need to do is piece them together. What we do understand is that all of the land is a part, well, not we, I don't mean to speak for we. What I understand is all of the land is simply the greater tree aspects, Aristarchus sticking out above the invading waters. This is what the land is. When we come to flat Earth and say, well, I know the ground is flat, well, that's fair enough, but tell me what the ground is. What is the ground? What is the greater picture here? What is a great story pertaining to our reality? And well, this is where I think we have to go. This is where I've gone anyway. So yeah, but there's a few more keys needed to piece these things together. One is the Antarctic here. Let me just yeah. So as you're looking at this, you say that's well, yeah, it's a very strange sight to behold. First of all, what's going on here? But when we come to a flat Earth realization, you can understand that Antarctica doesn't exist. So this is something different. Antarctic, right? So for me, this is a puzzle piece. This is the frozen over Arctic. So what I would do if I was to put the flat Earth map together with the puzzle pieces I have in my brain, I cut all of these pieces. I cut everything out here, right? Cut absolutely everything out. I'd locate this in the center here, right in the center. This is the frozen over Arctic, and then we have all of the continental arrangements in relation to the northern Arctic Ocean, i.e., Greenland, northern Canada, Alaska here, and as Alaska rolls around to over here, northern Russia, etc., all the way around until we get to here, where Europe. This is Europe. If you don't recognize it, let me just. There's Italy sticking out here. You see, so it's just rotated on the side. This is Spain. This is Italy, Greece. These are Finland and Denmark over here. So yeah, all of these would fit around this northern frozen over Arctic Ocean, and all of this is accurately scaled. That's the way I see it. Now, there's a couple of other keys needed. One of them being the dodo bird. The dodo has a very pivotal part in all of this. But that's how I'd go about it. I'd scale down the dodo bird to this degree. And well, yeah, as I say, everything slots in around the central piece here, which is well, the central tenet of our understanding being that well, we don't live in a spinning ball Earth. So yeah, that's if I was to, you know, if my hand was forced to come up with some sort of a flat Earth representation, I could do it. I have all the component parts in my brain, down to even the barrier, the contour of the barrier. What we're showing here is we have with the red you go this far no further. This is where the boundary meets. This is where the barrier meets the waters beyond, meets the land. And then the inner barrier here is the ice wall, what we would call the ice wall. And then we have the Tropic of Capricorn, the equator, Cancer, the Arctic Circle, and then inner barrier. And what we understand is we are in the outer barrier, which begins low at the north, rises to its highest point above the equator at 60 miles. This is Kármán land distance above the equator, and low at the southern peripheral as well. So when you think of it in terms of scale, thousands of miles across, but yet only a very, very thin film above us, well, this is where the eye comes into things as well, the human eye. So we can look in that very thin film over our own eye. So yeah, that's the lines I'm not that I cast too much thoughts these ways, but definitely if I if I was to sit down and go to this trouble, yeah, I think I could put a pretty good working model. I think so, yeah, with all the pieces of information that I have. But the reason I got onto that was back to this, yeah, back to this, and to just show you once again, or to stress to you the significance of all of this and the nature of the actors, like Patricia Steere or Mark Sargent, who have been inserted into their respective parts, probably born for the role, but as we have this sort of association, you can call it flimsy or tenuous. You know, when I say Patricia Steere on the left, Mark Sargent, microphone on the right, you can do it all you like. But, well, for me, it goes beyond any sort of incidents or any chance. So, um, yeah, and as I say again, I mentioned this two years ago, maybe, when I discovered the significance of dodo. And Patricia was well aware of this as well. Whatever about the tranny stuff, whatever about anything like that, I never wish any harm on anybody, and I never harassed or hounded anybody. I never sent any private messages to Patricia Steere. Never went on her channel. Never. Yeah, never did anything untoward, really, but express my point of view. And my point of view is, well, it stands as it is. Antonio Subarats is an actor on the stage as well, so I view it all as part of the theatre. We were handed the controversial transgender thing on a plate. So I saw it early doors. This is all, even though I was engrossed in it. Uh, when it came out first, but upon thinking about it, yeah, I see that they're all interrelated. They're all acting their part, and well, yeah, there's a deeper story, so I can recognize the deception and see if there is any connection to it. Well, my greater questions. And well, there are. And when we think about Subarats, so I mentioned Patricia Steere Magical Mystery Tour. Subarats accused Patricia Steere of being a transgender, a born boy, castrated early on, and brought up as a girl. Well, that's exactly what a steer is, that it's a castrated bull calf. So the odds of that alone tell us, we're dealing with something other here, and what we think or what they'd have us think. But when we look at Subarats, everything's in a name. Subarats backwards is star I B us. Star I B us. R I star cuss. R I star cuss. Um, yeah, it's just beyond any chance, and that alone, it's fucking, it's nailed for me, and I can only say that with confidence, I guess, because I found out so many other things about R.I. Starcus, but yeah, so all scripted, it's all storyboard stuff. Where you're at it yourself, what the fuck? That's down to you. That's down to you. I can't say any more. I definitely think it's all sort of winding up. There always has been a date for everything to revolve around, and well, who knows what awaits at the end of it? Have you been paying attention? I don't know. I don't know. Uh, okay. Okay, let me go back to chat for a few minutes, and I'll just any questions or anything like that, please feel free. There we go. It's late enough. Hang on. Yeah, it's late enough now, so there's probably no one in chat or anything. But yeah, any questions you have? Any question? This what I keep saying as well. I mean, we have to decide ourselves what questions we want answered. You have to think very carefully about that, because if you're sort of flimsy and if you're half-hearted about a question, then you might get an answer. You might get the correct answer, but you might misinterpret. So I think we really need to pay attention. Yeah, you saw that Tumanoid, and that's what I right. So 11.5 and 11.3 I talked about age ago. This is 8.8. So 11 times 5 is 55. 11 times 3 is 33. 55 and 33 is 88. 88 is HH. So I've talked about the hidden hand. The hidden hand is behind everything. This is again, just where I'm coming from, this is all a construct, and there is a hidden hand in play within that construct. You might call it the hand of God, the hand of the Creator. Call it what you like. There's a higher power in play here, and this is what I think that the 11.5 and 11.3 arrows represent. I spoke about this years ago, Tomanoid, in great detail. You have to go back to the early hangouts when I was really into it. So I'd have to be bringing up a lot of things in terms of memory, but I could definitely do it revisiting it. Although I would still end up in the same destination. I knew the solution to it. This hidden puzzle, Tomanoid, on this the most predominant sort of magazine earthwide. I knew, yeah, as I said, the answer, the solution was going to be Dodo and Mauritius. The Dodo and Mauritius, because, yeah, well, as I say, the turtle was missing its payload. We have the image of the fantasy image, and remember, fantasy is reality. The fantasy image of the turtle and the elephants. The elephant's trunk, the elephant's trunk, a tree trunk, maybe. Yeah. Elephant's trunk, the strongest. The elephant representing the dry land, the strong solidity of the dry land. The turtle representing the shell, the dome, but also representing longevity in saline waters. And well, then we have the disk of the earth, the face of the earth. This is what we were looking for. This is what the turtle was missing in that representation, the actual face or layout of the earth, which is, well, the dodo. It's a Gleason's map rotated upside down. So yeah, that's our starting point. Then we take it from there. That's certainly not the end of the story. So you've heard all of this, Irving, before. You definitely heard it all before. So. Yeah, okay. So just a quick one today. Again, I didn't even come on for anything. I just felt like singing a few songs. Um, don't have much more to say, really. Just that, well, I think it's becoming more and more obvious, and in a sense, more and more frustrating to sort of keep going over the same ground again and again. Have to be very aware as individuals that there's a greater game in play. I don't want to go into it again tonight, but everything is still going to revolve around the same things. When we understand that the external world is in a divided state and there's this intimate connection between us and the external world, then we understand that we are ourselves in a divided state. So when it comes back to our body's functionality, physiology, component part makeup, well, then we can start seeing everything in these sort of connective terms. And well, yes, we are in a divided state, male tone from female, self from self, and it is all about bridging that divide. And we can do that via, well, a very sensitive topic, or bodily fluids. This is what, as I say, the holy bread is about. This is what manna from heaven represents. Come to the waters. You know, none of us would be here without the coming to the waters. We're born into the waters break, and we enter. First port of call with a visit from the doctor, right? So this greater story is being reflected everywhere. And as I say, once we come to flat Earth, everything is um, sort of telescope. Do you know, we sort of open a telescope to see further. What if we close it, or what's the word I'm looking for? If you close everything in, this is what exactly what we've got to do. Everything has been stretched out. Everything has been expanded beyond elasticity levels. So now you have to sort of compress and reduce everything back in. And well, as I say, well, in one sense, see everything and everything else. Well, that's a different story, and I guess not many people are ready for that as well. But what can I do? But I can just say where my own thoughts lie on the matter. And as I say, I won't go into that in too much detail, but definitely should set aside. Definitely should set aside some time just to talk extensively about my thoughts on that and how you go about that sort of thing. And it does involve fasting, and it does involve, when you do fast, your stomach closes up, your stomach acid dries up, reabsorbs to the body. So anything you put into your stomach is immediately absorbed into the bloodstream, goes straight to your heart, then is pumped back to the brain, right? So this is the connection made that was once severed. So before I go, let me just bring up my notepad here, and on the back of what I just said, this occurred to me, or I saw this somewhere, and I just made a note of it, and it made absolute sense in terms of what I've just been talking about there. Saint Gregory the Great, this is credited to, so I don't believe he existed, but what do you make of this? Whoever stains himself with the defilement of lust closes the gate of his heart against the entrance of truth. So in light of what I was just saying there, how would you stain yourself with the defilement of lust? You would spill your seed, right? You would spill your seed and you would stain yourself, and all of that life force and life energy or life substance would be stained, would be fallen, would be wasted. So whoever stains himself with the defilement of lust closes the gate of his heart against the entrance of truth. So if you bear those words in mind in relation to what I've just been saying previously, right? Okay. So once again, everything comes back to you, the individual. This is about us. This is our story. The Bible is true, just not in that physical sense or in that literal sense. It is all about you. It's not about externalization. You are the representative here. So there's so much, I've loads of stuff here. But all of this stuff. This is why I told you I could write about 10 books on all of this. There's so many different clues everywhere as well. So I'm sort of I speak like this, I'm in a sort of different position. I sort of know, I'm like, in a sense, right? It's like I'm in that same position I was when I went back to the Economist 2015 cover. I knew, because of what I learned since I left the cover from the last time, when I was stuck at Angela Merkel. I knew upon re-examining it what the answer would be. It was just a matter of finding out the pathway. And lo and behold, when I found the pathway, it led exactly to the answer. So it's sort of a similar thing with Aristarchus, because all roads point there. That's all I can say. All roads point there. But how you're going to get there on your own, I don't know. I don't know that. I can just see the way I made my way there, and well, yeah, that's what makes this a lonely sort of station in one sense. As I said, there's no one I can sort of relate to with any of this. But well, it's written the way it's written. So yeah, my last word would be it's the same as I've always said: don't externalize things. This is all about you. And if you can't relate to something, then it wasn't meant for you. It will come along again, and you'll be able to relate it to you. And well, yeah, it's just the ultimate purpose of our experience here. Yeah, to figure this shit out, to come to terms with reality, and it's only by looking at the unreality in all its extreme sense, I guess. It can get much more extreme sense than infinite universes and big bangs and light years and all of this. You know, in every sense, we've been. Oh fuck it! What's the word? There's a word waiting. What's that? We've been. No, it's not coming. I'll think about it. Maybe it'll occur to me before I tune out here. But let me bring up the. Ah, fuck it. It's a big long word as well. It's a massive long word, and it means basically what it means is you take a central sort of solid unit and you explode it in all directions to the greatest degree possible. That's what's happened to us in our reality. But as I say, it's only by us appreciating that, looking into that abyss, that we can sort of retract and bring everything back to its central, um, intimate relation, proper relation. And in a way, that sort of reflects what I've been saying about the moon. So when we look at the moon and all of its seemingly disparate craters, when you retract it around itself in the form of sort of like a fan, a spiraling fan, well, then everything retracts into none other than crater Aristarchus. Crater, creator, yeah, there's only one crater, only one God, right? Okay, and I think that's good time for me to believe it just started to rain outside. So, okay, friends, I don't think it's too active in the chat, but that's cool. Anyone who is there or anyone who has tuned in, yeah, thanks for tuning in. And, maybe I've said something that will get you to think a little bit further anyway. Yeah. So I'll leave you with the usual, and I'll bid you good night. It's 7:10 here, so definitely 40 weeks soon, and yeah, best wishes to all. So thanks again, and until next time. I've spent I'm done for the world to memory now. I can't recall. Fell to me the heart last night. Enjoy me with you. If I had money enough to spend and last my time to sit there, there is a fair lady that slowly pass my heart. Her rosy cheeks, her ruby lips, and she has my heart and soul. Come to me, the lightning glass. Tonight and joy be with you all. Oh, the clouds where I had their sight for my cling away. And all the sweethearts there I had, they would wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls onto my lot, tonight she lies and you should know. Gently rise and not softly call. And joy be with you. Gently rise and not softly call. Good night and joy be with you. Good night, friends. I love you, my Steve.